Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I am your host for the show, and this is a show that's been running for quite a long time. Got basically 1,000 episodes published at this point, and best thing to do is to get subscribed to the show. You can subscribe if you're watching now on YouTube or on your favorite podcast player, and share these episodes as they strike you as being helpful and insightful. Share the love. That's really a great way to show the love to Keys to the Shop and get more people aware of this podcast. And so thank you. That's all I have to say. Thanks for joining me today and doing all that. Now, Keys to the Shop also works to help the coffee industry, specifically coffee shop industry, being able to work one-on-one with myself in Keys to the Shop's consulting services for coaching and helping you and your team elevate your operations, your quality, hospitality, things like workflow, or maybe bettering your cafe design. Or if all of this stuff is new to you because you are opening your first coffee shop, then of course, that's what I help people with as well. So whether this is your first go at opening a coffee shop and you want a trusted advisor to help you on the path to opening a shop, or you just want somebody as a coach and consultant to help you with a specific project in your coffee shop with quality or operations and hospitality, with your people and culture, there's a lot of things that we've been able to do to help over 80 different coffee shops and coffee businesses in the last 8 years do exactly that. So reach out, Chris at keystotheshop.com, CHRIS at keystotheshop.com. If you go to the show notes, by the way, you'll be able to see the link for setting up a Calendly. It's like a Calendly link. You just click on that. It's a 30-minute call. A lot of times we go over because we just get carried away, and I like to learn about your business, But let's have a conversation and see what it looks like, okay? So again, Chris at keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by two companies we're going to talk about later. One is Arto Brick at Arto Brick on Instagram. The other is the Pacific Barista Series, the Barista Series line of plant-based performance beverages. And again, wonderful folks. We're going to hear about them later in the episode. But today, I wanted you and I to talk, or me talk to you, and kind of a conversation about turnover. So turnover is one of those things that is just kind of talked about in the industry as being the bane of our existence. We constantly lose people. And I have a whole presentation that I've done on how it's tongue-in-cheek. It was titled The Top 10 Ways to Lose Employees. That presentation was turned into a podcast. So I'll link to that in the show notes here for this episode. But the point is that, turnover happens. And this is the way I open it up with that presentation is turnover is natural. It's not necessarily something you're doing wrong. We act as though if we were doing everything right, everybody would just stay with us forever and we would never have to hire people. We would never have to be in a pinch because people would just stick with us if we just pay them enough, if we treat them the right way, if we lavish them with all of the benefits possible. The thing is, life always happens, and that means people will leave you. It is not most people's dream to open a coffee shop, and it's even fewer people's dream to spend a large portion of their life working in a coffee shop. I don't know comparatively, but basically you get the picture. This is a job. It is a meaningful job, a job whose meaning is actually a combination of the meaning you give it and what people bring to it. That's the magic of a coffee shop. Now, turnover, being that it is a thing and it's not always bad, it can be bad. It's a bad thing when it is something that is born from people's frustration for legitimate causes. Let's say you're being very cheap with the way that you pay your employees. We talk about this as you are trying to see how little you can pay them, or you're saying, how much can I get away with, not how much can I pay them. So my heart's direction there, the thing that I'm looking for in that moment is, what can I get away with, not how much can I give. There's two different operating systems going on there. if you're the kind of person in the hospitality business who is using the hospitality business as a means primarily to see how quickly you can scale and make bank and maybe sell your business and all that stuff, this might not be the right podcast for you. And I'm not saying that because business is bad or, that kind of thing. But I do feel like, I don't enjoy that idea of a coffee shop being run by people who are not people oriented, who are not others focused. Because the very nature of a coffee shop is, as trite as it might sound, to bring people together. And when you bring people together, you have to realize they're eventually going to separate. That's to the point of our turnover issue here. But it is a brief period of time that you have to influence a group of people. It's a temporary endeavor. Not all coffee shops last a very long time. And even if they do, it's like the ship of Theseus, where the myth is that Theseus's ship was rebuilt plank by plank over many years, maybe hundreds of years. And the philosophical question is, if every plank in the boat and every piece was replaced, is it still the ship of Theseus? So wrestle with that. Look up somebody who's explained it a lot better. But your coffee shop has had lots of different types of people and different interactions, and that happens over the course of many years. And it's an endeavor of becoming. And therefore, if you're the type of person who is operating it and you are others focused, you will be asking yourself questions regarding people's well-being that are born from getting curious about, how can I serve others well? How can I set my staff up for success? Increase the enjoyment of my people, the people in my life. It's not wrong to say my people. Don't get it twisted. It's not, you're not being possessive. You don't own people and all this stuff. People are a little too sensitive around that idea. Okay. It is what it sounds like. My people can, from a heart of goodness and a heart of giving, is a benefit. My people is about, these are my, we're not going to say family. These are my circle of relationships that I have been given that need me to use my mind and my body and everything that I have to create something that is beneficial and maybe can last a long time. So in that sense, you do have the ability to extend people's tenure with you as employees a lot of different ways. But the fact is that even the longest tenured employee is going to be a very rare breed indeed. 3, 4, 5, 7, 10. People need to make money. They need to actually, as they grow, they increase their the number of possessions, the number of people they're responsible for, and the positions just don't multiply. Sometimes your business just stops growing in its capacity to absorb all of the expenses of the people that work for you. There's limitations, but it's up to you to know what those limitations are so that you can say, literally, this is what we can pay you right now, and here's why. And we've explored it, and we desperately and very sincerely want to be as generous as we can, and this is how we are proving this to you. So that I wanted to speak to that really quickly here, that when you enter into this idea of turnover, you've got to think about it from the perspective of, you have more control than you think, but you also have to hold it with an open hand and say, even if you exercise all that control, all the good intentions, life being what it is will take away from you the thing that you worked hard to keep. And maybe it seems unfair. Your best barista leaves, your best manager leaves. That's just the way it is. But this is why we had this episode in the past called Bottling Your Best Barista, which was essentially saying that your best barista is your best barista because they're revealing to you and they're showing you, giving you a gift of clarity to see what other people should be doing and what the next stage of evolution of hiring should look like. Now, this person who is leaving is the same thing. Maybe you don't like that they're leaving. You have this opportunity to either improve the hiring process when they do leave to include more people like them. And if you are like that person that I think we need more of in the industry, which is others focused, and you view yourself as a resource to set people up for success, you're going to be thinking that way. How can I engineer and set up the environment for the next couple of few years here, at least, to make more room to kind of call my shots a little bit more when it comes to what kinds of people we have here. You may have gotten lucky because you were busy opening the shop. You said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to hire from the gut, and so forth. And you got a few really good people, and you're like, how did we luck out? This is crazy. How did we do that? Well, after a few years, you've got to turn luck into structure. You've got to turn luck into wisdom. And stuff that's organic needs to have a little bit more shape around it. That's the way that businesses grow. You think about it from the perspective of a plant. A plant starts its growth very fragile and it's very sensitive. As it grows older, it becomes less sensitive. It becomes more hardy, deeper roots. Maybe, the outside of it is more weather resistant. It's become a lot more defined. That doesn't mean it's not living or that it doesn't have life coursing through it just because it's got structure to it. Same thing with your business. Structure and systems and those things, those are all born from the life that circulates through your business. Distributed through the life of the business itself, it creates resiliency. So when you think about turnover, think about circulation. Circulation of energy, ideas, revelations, insights born from the relationships that you have invited into your business, good and bad. It's not just about trying to bottle your best barista. It's also learning, how did we get that bad barista? Or how did that good barista turn bad? And what did we do to contribute to that? That's part of examining turnover. It's always a mystery why coffee shops don't have, as many coffee shops have, exit interviews. We kind of know that we messed up a little bit when that paycheck was late, when we surprised them with a coupon that we decided to do basically a backroom deal with, and everybody is just confused. And it's kind of like morale was dead through 1,000 paper cuts, and we just scratch our heads and wonder, why are people leaving? Your curiosity has to be bent in the direction of, how did we cultivate the current situation that we have, both good and bad? What did we do to bring good people in? What did we do to bring bad fits in? What did we do to squander the good opportunities we did have? And how many good people have we lost because we haven't been curious enough about how we are culpable for creating the thing that we wanted to see, but we were kind of hoping would almost accidentally happen. So turnover is a blessing. It's an opportunity for you to start fresh with, hey, we made a big mistake. We weren't really good at managing people. We squandered the opportunity we had. These folks came in with a lot of morale and we demoralized them. So demoralization is simply a matter of saying, hey, somebody comes in with morale and we say, nope, not today. This is the way it works. How dare you even think about, assuming that it's going to be great to work here, because this is how it really is to work here. All that marketing, all of that, all the trophies and best of the city stuff, the secret is out now. It happens a lot, unfortunately. And rather than fixing it, often what we do is we try to double down on the aesthetics, not the structure, not the substructures of our business. Well, hey everyone, it's Chris, and I wanted to take a break here and talk a little bit about our sponsors. So, first of all, we've got the wonderful people at Arto Brick. You know, I'm going to kind of move in my desk area and see if I can't do this, but it's also on YouTube for my ad. This is a tile I'm showing on YouTube. You can kind of hear it from our friends at Arto Brick. Really good stuff, handmade in Los Angeles. It is substantial, it is beautiful, and it is something you can have in your coffee shop, on the floors, on the counters, on the walls. If you want a place that stands out, Arto Brick is the handle on Instagram, at Arto Brick. Best place to go to learn about their services. Reach out to Armin, one of the owners, and have a conversation. Say, I heard about you on Keys to the Shop. I have a project. I'm opening a coffee shop. I really want to have something unique that stands out. I heard that you are the place to go for stonework, tile, hard surfaces. And he'll say, of course, let's have a conversation. So Arto Brick, wonderful folks. And also, we are sponsored today by our longtime friends and sponsors, Pacific Barista Series, the line of plant-based performance beverages that is designed for baristas. Baristas that want to make latte art, to want to make customers happy. And Pacific has long been the catalyst for this movement of plant-based beverages in the industry, and they're preferred by baristas around the world. So stands up to the heat from steaming, great texture for the drinks, has also got a great balance of flavor to keep everything focused on coffee. So check them out at pacificfoodservice.com. And once you go to the website, pacificfoodservice.com, get samples, try it for yourself. I think you're going to be really pleased with what you're tasting. And if you're looking for the best for your customers, try the Barista Series from Pacific for sure. So let's get back to our episode about a philosophy on turnover. So turnover allows you to have this opportunity to reflect and say, well, we lost people. Rather than think about it as a temporary annoyance that you just chalk up to the flakiness of people. No one wants to work anymore. And it's this generation and everything else. It is something more complex than that that's going on. Now, if it's not, if you did everything you possibly could and you know you did, then maybe it's just that person left and that's it. They left because they got a better job offer. You just couldn't pay them more. You literally could not pay them more. They needed more. What's a person to do? They have to go where the money is, or the opportunity to work within their field. A graduate student who has they can practice their craft out, in the field, but that field is not where your coffee shop is. You're not going to attract them with anything. They're going to leave. And that brings up another aspect of turnover that's great. And it's part of the circulation that can bring life and renewal to your business is, what did they teach you? What did this relationship teach you about your business, about yourself as a boss, about what you want to see in the staff regarding what that individual brought? There's a lot that the legacy of that person, if it was a great employee, should not just be discarded because they decided they wanted to leave. And you should certainly not get bitter about it. You should certainly not take it personally. Just as much as you wouldn't want a barista to take something that you decide to do or say regarding the business that was very practical and pragmatic, you don't want them to take it personally. This is not a personal thing. It is often taken that way because we have a lot riding on this. If you're an operator, this is one of those things that you expect. You didn't expect it, and after this episode, I think, hey, expect it, right? But don't take it personally. Use it as a learning opportunity to fortify those good things and take the legacy of that individual and let it shape who you are as a business. We've said this many times. Coffee shops are co-creative entities. They are partly designed by your setting them up. You've tilled the soil, you've marked out the plots, you've planted the seeds, you've done all these things, and the customers come in they water it, things grow, the staff come in, they tend it. The look and the shape of everything is going to, even though you know what kind of garden you planted, the look and the shape of it, it's going to be kind of a mystery. And that's the beauty of this industry, is you are discovering things along with everybody else, and how it's shaped is based on who is doing the shaping. And so sometimes things go askew. You hire the wrong person. You say, what did we learn from this? Who is the right fit for our business? How can we use this opportunity to learn, to open up opportunities for people who need to work here? It is the right fit for them. That person, even though they were the wrong fit, even though our emotions were just tied up in knots around this person, they gave us a gift. You got to look at it that way, or else you're just going to become hard. And it's going to be hard for you to get out of hard mode and start to, you can't lead the people who still are with you, who are good employees, well, if you're all racked with hardness about employees that you felt did you wrong. Got to move on, got to forgive, honestly, and then learn from it. And you're less likely to repeat that. One of the books that was recommended to me a long time ago was this book, Making It Around Competition Circuits. I think Layla Gambari talked about this a while ago, and a lot of other people back in the mid 2000s. It was Lonnie Basham's book, With Winning in Mind. And I've listened to it a couple of times. And one of the things he talks about with his mental model of training, because he was an Olympic rifle shooter, what he says, it's like me to make a bullseye. It's like me to be successful. It's kind of, it's not really a mantra, so to speak, but it's a decision to focus on the positives rather than the negatives. People who focus on all of their misses are people who invite more misses because they are fixated on it. So if you're hiring people in order to avoid having the wrong people, you'll probably attract more of the wrong people, more likely, than if you're trying to figure out what hiring the wrong people taught you about who is right, who is the right person. I know that's a little bit of maybe some word salad there, but it really does play out in the cafe, where I think, if I could make it a little bit more tangible for you, have you ever been in a position where you say, never again, never again, we are not going to hire the wrong person ever again, and your interviews start to feel like interrogations? Your onboarding materials start to look a little accusatory. Like, this person is going to rob you 6 different ways from Sunday, and therefore we have to, put this out in there. And that's our defense against that. So instead of looking for people who exhibit positive character traits that are the antithesis of the things that you didn't like seeing, what you're saying is to people, you're saying, don't you dare even think about being rude to customers. I see this in onboarding documents and job descriptions that sometimes say things like, hey, we don't shame the customers. We are prompt and we are never tardy for work. And we never, we won't, baristas will not, blah, blah, blah. Now, this may be true, but what is it that you are doing? And as adults, we can kind of imply what the opposite of that is. You get more with the positive. And turnover allows you the opportunity to get better at that. It gets also, by the way, I'll move on to the next section here. Turnover is a blessing in that your business sometimes has grown too fast for its own good in terms of labor. Everyone's thinking about labor costs. A lot of times you ask a barista, what do you need? More baristas. We always need more baristas. Always more baristas. It's just kind of like putting a bird on it. You just need more baristas. And that's not true. Not most of the time, I'd say. There are, listen, I've worked enough solo bars in unrealistic situations to know sometimes that is the case. Most of the time, I would say we haven't explored it enough to know. But because we don't want our staff to feel put out, we say, okay, well, we'll hire somebody else. They're going to have extra help because there's going to be this rush. What happens? All of a sudden, the rush is not there. Now you've hired this extra position because you're placating people who haven't necessarily gone through and done the numbers. To them, it's like, you're asking me, I'm telling you what I think. That doesn't mean they're right. The efficiency of your bar is dependent on the layout, job descriptions, training, resourcing, and a lot can be done with fewer people. And those people can reap the rewards in tips. They can also reap the rewards in pride of work, and they don't have to burn out. This has happened several times with clients of mine where they have had an inflated labor pool. And of course, labor was out of control. And we said, what can we do to take away somebody from the mix? We're not going to just fire somebody, but this is where turnover is kind of a blessing. If you start now planning on what a more efficient bar looks like to equip your staff for success, to do more with fewer people, reasonably speaking. I'm not saying rush on Saturday with one person and boy, look at our labor cost. It's so great. Yeah, but you're terrible as an operator. That's the kicker. Okay, you may have good labor costs, but you're really, they're up the creek now with no paddle. So reasonably speaking, though, you can make a more efficient bar more appropriate because you might have got yourself into a little bit of a problem with too many people, but you can't fire them because they're people and they rely on the paycheck and you said you would pay them. You don't want to be that person and be like, sorry, I made a mistake. Bye-bye. And a great way to do this is to say, look, we know turnover is a reality. So let's plan what the structure of this bar might look like and what we need to do right now, because we know out of maybe the 8 to 10, maybe sometimes more people that we have working for us, a lot of whom are part-time, they're not going to, this is not their dream job. Again, they're going to move on to something else. And when they do, we will not replace their role. We'll be prepared. That's the big difference, is you're prepared for it. When you lose people right now, it's almost like we forget that we're going to lose people. We never expected it. How could this happen? No one's ever heard of a barista quitting in a coffee shop before. We don't have a plan. So what we do is we just perpetually re-up the status quo. We say we have to replace that person because a person is gone. But we haven't done the preparatory work to know whether or not we actually need to replace that person. That can be done with managers. I've got a client right now who is not really replacing a manager. They're distributing the tasks to other people because it might have been too much to have a manager right away. That's not always the case, but for them, it's the right move. So that's a strategic way to think about it. And frankly, we just got done with one of our sessions in the key holder coaching groups with a group of coffee shop owners. We gathered to, help one another. There is super great camaraderie and everyone's helping each other with issues in their cafe. So stay tuned for the next cohort if you want to be a part of that community. But one thing that was said was really good, and I think it's appropriate to share here. It is that when you're faced with a decision of what to do, you want to do something that's good for you? You want to do something that's good for that person? Or do you want to do something that's good for the business? You're going to probably want to choose the business. And why is that? And because at first it sounds really cold. That sounds like you horrible capitalist, you. Well, here's the thing. Everybody in that business, you included and the baristas, rely on that business to be stable. They want the business to succeed because their paycheck needs to be consistent because they need the money for their life. If you are not making decisions primarily for the business's flourishing, with the understanding that through that flourishing, you can help people, and you reverse it and you say, I'm just going to serve what I see as the needs of the people first, and then the business can kind of get sacrificed bit by bit, which happens a lot, you won't have a business, and then you won't be able to help more people. So there's a reconciliation that has to happen there when you think about people in your business circulating through your business. These are vital and irreplaceable relationships, unique in and of themselves, that will contribute to the resiliency of your business if you're focused on your business as a primary means to care for people. That's the overarching principle is the first way that you show you care about people is to care for the business that the people depend on to care for their people and so forth, right? So turnover, again, to review, it happens. A lot of it depends upon us. Some of it doesn't. We know whether or not we are hitting it out of the park when it comes to the needs of our staff and the expectations being fulfilled. And we are generous people, people first people. And the means to do that being running a good business, first of all, and making business decisions that can create stability for those folks. We are going to take a position of a learner when it comes to turnover to say, what did we do wrong? What did we do right? What is the next step? What's the better version of us in the future based on this hiring decision, this relationship with a staff member, and what did they teach us? What was the takeaway? What's their legacy here? And even the people that don't work out and you feel are your worst hires, they can have something good to teach you. And we always want to seek out the positive. We don't want to focus on our misses at the expense of our hits. We don't want to get bitter and hard-hearted. We can't lead from that position. And we want to be pragmatic about business and use turnover and these insights to help us grow in our structure and system to protect the continuing circulation of these relationships. So future baristas are benefited from the turnover of years past because we've treated these opportunities as opportunities. We've treated them as gifts that we will explore to help us become better. So that's a little bit of a philosophy on turnover in the coffee shop. And I'm hoping that's helpful to you. I'm pretty sure that if you adopt this philosophy, it will change the way you view people in general, for the better. So I'm always interested in what you think. Feel free to comment on the YouTube video, over at Instagram at Keys to the Shop. You can comment on the post on the reel. We have a conversation there. You can contact me directly, DM on Instagram or LinkedIn. Follow me there, Chris DeFirio, or just email chris@keystotheshop.com. So let me know what you think. Thanks so much for joining me again on this episode of Keys to the Shop. And as always, I hope that this episode truly has given you keys to the shop.